When you can actually find your voice and learn how and when to best use it, it really changes your life. And the ability to express yourself skillfully, to listen with intention, is this transformational force, and it fuels your success and your well-being. It's really fundamental. And, communication is the currency of work. It is how we interact. It's how we get things done. More than that, it is how people perceive us. It is your communication is how other people experience you, right? So say it skillfully. Fundamentally, when people can do that, and create these environments where people can feel valued and heard, then we can all perform at our best.
Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. My guest today is Molly Tschang. Molly is the founder of Abella Consulting and Say It Skillfully Incorporated, where she empowers senior management teams to win as one. With expertise in over 80 mergers and acquisitions, she has guided executives through the intricate human dynamics of transformational change and growth. Molly hosts the popular Say It Skillfully podcast and video series and is a TEDx speaker and member of Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches. She serves on the boards of several privately held companies and the Cornell Engineering College Council. She is also an advocate of social enterprise, having served as the executive director for the international NGO Net Hope and is a board member of Community Solutions, the 2021 winner of the $100 million MacArthur Foundation Award for accelerating an end to homelessness. Her first book, with co-author Marshall Goldsmith, forwarded by Ken Blanchard, is titled Say It Skillfully, Speak Up, Make Your Words Matter, Win Together. And her mission is to ensure that everyone is seen, heard, and understood, to work better, work together, and drive real impact. And Molly, it is such a great honor to have you here on the show, speaking about a topic that is so important, especially in this day and age. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Merritt. It's great to join you and your viewers, listeners around the world. And I love what you do because, as we'll talk more about, the whole essence of Say It Skillfully is really starts within. I mean, to talk about a positive mindset, it really does start there. And I think it's something that in this world where I think many people feel there's things they really can't control or can't influence, and this is one thing, folks, you really can make a huge difference. So I hope that it really people feel very empowered by finding their authentic voice and learning how and when to best use it.
Wow, authentic voice. I think some people might be hearing that and being like, "Oh, what does that mean? What is my authentic voice?" So what do you mean by that?
So I love this ability to dive into it a little bit because this word authentic can get a little wonky, right? Oh, my authentic self. I should be able to do whatever. And we're in, a civil society and there are norms. And so, no, it isn't just about doing whatever. It is about being true to yourself, I think. And I think a big part of authenticity is being who you need to be to best serve a situation. If you're really about serving yourself, if people are self-centered, got it. But for the whole of society to really work, we have to think about others. And we're in organizations, we're in different departments of companies, and everybody isn't about winning. It's about winning as one, like what best serves the whole. And so that ability to, find my voice, because I can speak up in a way where others can't. You can say things in a way that I can't. And we're all unique with our very different backgrounds. So finding the words and how you speak up in a way that's true to yourself is such a fundamental skill because then you can express what you really think needs to be said. And so many people at work, super, whether they went to community college or you went to Oxford, you didn't really work so hard to be a wallflower at work. And you want to be able to say, hey, I see something differently, or I'm not quite on board with that. But people, they're scared, genuinely scared. Fear of offending, fear of looking bad, fear of being wrong, right? And at the end of the day, we want to innovate. We want the best ideas. We know they can come from wherever. But if people don't speak up, we'll never get there. So, I think it's that it's the most fundamental skill. It's literally a life-changing skill benefiting your career and all your relationships and all that you do. Yet, whether it's school or work, no one really teaches us.
What is the core message of Say It Skillfully?
Well, I mean, I think that, that when you can actually find your voice and learn how and when to best use it, it really changes your life. And the ability to express yourself skillfully, to listen with intention, is this transformational force, and it fuels your success and your well-being. It's really fundamental. And communication is the currency of work. It is how we interact. It's how we get things done. More than that, it is how people perceive us. It is your communication is how other people experience you, right? So, say it skillfully. Fundamentally, when people can do that and create these environments where people can feel valued and heard, then we can all perform at our best. I mean, it's very basic. It's not a kumbaya moral thing to me. It's like, hey, we want one and one is 11. Who doesn't want to be part of the one and one is 11 team? So many people have been on the one and one is like one half. You know what I mean? You're like, we're coming together and it's a train wreck, right? And we talk about harnessing the diversity of people, places, ideas, and experiences. I mean, that sounds good on paper, Farad, but if we don't have a higher order capability to actually communicate and hear each other, it's a train wreck. I mean, we've all been there. We've been on those teams where everyone's kind of a good person, has something to contribute, but we cannot get out of our own way. So everybody's a part of that. It's easy to say out there, oh my God, that guy, that gal, my boss, the person who works for me isn't X. And I'm not saying they're not part of it, but we all own that. And I think that the message about learning how and when to find our voices is something that is self, but it really is realizing that we're all part of the whole. Communication is a team sport, just like collaborating is. And so that ability to realize that my ability to speak up in a way that others hear me the way I intend is on me too. It's not, they don't get it. I mean, how often did I used to say when I was coming up there, oh, they're not getting it. I'm like, how about you're not being very clear? You know what I mean? Like, so you start to go, whoa, that idea of what's it like in someone else's shoes is so fundamental. And I don't say it skillfully. And so often, understandably, I'm in my world. This is what I need. This is what's going on for me. But if I could take a moment, get grounded, mindful of my own self and what's going on with me, let go what maybe not serving me at this moment, then put myself in your shoes to be able to really connect with what's going on for you, then you can actually start to unleash the full potential.
So, what are you seeing in your research as some of the biggest issues that people have, or blockages, if you will, to speaking up, speaking authentically, skillfully?
So fear is a big topic, and I get it. That idea of being wrong is I think the first one. And when you're in school, you're trained to be right. I mean, we don't like pay people to be wrong. At the same time, that's how we learn, right? And if you look at professional athletes, all the time they're missing basket, they're missing tennis balls, they're missing. And I think at work we have to embrace those. My mentor and great friend Gary Ridge coined learning moments. So I think that idea of letting go of needing to be right, being the most, the smartest one in the room. I mean, I've been in rooms where the leader has said, "You're supposed to be the smartest person in the room." It is like so annoying when everyone's jockeying for position. I mean, it's just, please, let's get over that, right? So that ability of realizing that if I'm wrong, I'm not a bad person. And as a leader, to be able to create space for people to be wrong if they're wrong. Hey, good way of thinking about that, but not necessarily penalizing. And I think a lot of leaders aren't aware of how subconsciously, unconsciously they make it wrong. And so people are afraid. How you respond when someone makes a mistake says a lot. If you're like, ah, good try, let's talk about that, way to learn, and you're leaning forward into it, people are like, well, that's okay. But if not, people, they want to stay beige. They want to stay safe. So fear is a big one, fear of being wrong. The fear of not fitting in. I grew up where there was in upstate New York with one Chinese, that was us, one Korean, and one black family. And I didn't, it wasn't like some outwardly environment where I didn't feel that people liked me, but I desperately wanted to fit in as a kid. I mean, I desperately wanted to do anything. And, kids can be mean, right? And so that idea of not fitting in really gets to be not being perceived as a team player. So you're on a team and everyone's kind of going this way, and you're like, God, am I missing something? Am I the only one who thinks this? And so you think, I must be me, right? And so then they all go off a cliff. And the idea of just embracing that, hey, how can I skillfully put out there that I see it differently? not necessarily making other people wrong, but injecting a different point of view to help inform maybe a more robust discussion, that's really on all of us. And that doesn't have to be an expertise thing because, what you observe, for example, we are in a client interaction. It's not about my domain expertise, but you might perceive the client really isn't receiving it or they're not really happy. Someone else is like, oh, the client's so happy. And you're like, no, the client is not happy. And so you have to be able to put that out there. So that fear of not fitting in. And then the third piece is really the fear of offending. And this, I think, plays a lot into feedback. And so many people, especially leaders, they're like, oh, I don't want them to feel bad, about this. And I'm like, feedback, feed forward, which we can talk about, is a great way to help people grow. You have a chance to help someone be better. Think about someone helping you be better, right? So that idea of, oh my gosh, I could be giving someone some ideas and give them some, maybe it didn't land this way for you. This is what I saw. So I think just helping people appreciate that, don't tiptoe because you think you're going to hurt someone's feelings. I mean, if you were doing something that wasn't serving a client or your company, you would want to know, right? Wouldn't you hope that someone would care enough to like tell you? I mean, that's what, you would really hope. So I hope that people listening realize now here we're all in it together. We're way more similar than not. The things that you're kind of worried about, everybody's worried about it. And even the bosses, right? Our managers, our leaders, our people too.
So thank you so much, Molly, for really articulating the deeper fears that can block us from speaking skillfully, as you say, the fear of offending, of not fitting in, and the fear of saying it wrong, right? And those go deep. As you said, like the story from your childhood, a lot of those fears go really deep. They're almost like survival strategies, because if we didn't fit in, or if we offended someone, or if we were wrong, maybe we were scolded, maybe we were rejected. So what do people do to overcome some of those fears so that they can utilize the strategies that you share, like with ease?
Yeah. So I appreciate this. And I want to bring it back to the whole mindfulness game of your podcast. It's just really understanding what's going on for me. And so that idea of in that moment, wow, I wanted to say something. And the moment went by. It was drift diving and it's coming, it's gone. And thinking like what was going on for me. And I think first acknowledging if you have a fear, just acknowledging it. And why do you have that fear? Because I am not here to tell anybody to speak up and put your head on the chopping block. Number one, I want to let people, listeners all over the world, if you really deem it isn't safe, people, you've seen it in the past, people speak up and bad things happen. I am saying to you, your bigger question is not about being skillful. It's why are you there? Because I would hope everyone listening is at an organization where you feel like you can spread your wings and fly. And I say that very, very intently because we all want to be in a place where they deserve you. If you're going to work hard and make an organization great, pick a place that really deserves you. So I think that understanding what's going on within, lots of times we're manufacturing how someone's going to respond, and it's actually not based in fact. And you just got to own that. If you think someone really doesn't want to hear the truth, you put yourself in their shoes. I mean, if you were doing something that wasn't serving the group, you'd want to know, right? So show benefit of doubt. Show respect that that person wants to grow and wants to be better. And I think that hopefully, this mindfulness, what's my energy? Is it fear and loathing, or is it I could make a difference. I could really help this person just like I would want someone to help me. And by the way, folks, we all need everyone else's help for us to grow. No one is out there as an island. And so I think this is a real opportunity for mutuality. So, letting go of what's not serving us is part of this first step. In fact, I can introduce a framework if it's helpful right now, because I think lots of times with people, I think of communications way more complicated, and they're like, I have to say it perfectly. It has to be perfectly timed. The person has to be in the perfect state. And I'm thinking, you are never going to say it. So what I want to encourage folks to realize is you can really set the stage for success before you utter a single word, right? So the simple framework is the me component. And that's really 80% of effective communication. Getting grounded with myself, letting go of energy that's not serving me, and really thinking about what do I want to have happen. So many people, oh, I want to talk to my boss. I'm thinking, well, what do you want to have happen in the conversation? And they're blah, 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 blah. Thinking, well, you're never going to get there if you don't know. So think about what you want to have happen. And by the way, it may not be one conversation. It may be a series of conversations. And think about then if I'm grounded in myself and I have a positive intention of what I want to have happen, the next thing is what's going on for the person I'm going to talk to. And putting ourselves in other people's shoes is the number one skill that I see missing in every organization of any size, anywhere in the world. And if we could take a moment and think, what's going on over there? It really sets the stage to be able to truly connect with people. And that connection is fundamental, right? Because if you can't connect, you're never going to influence. If you can't influence, you're never going to lead. So that is just a fundamental part. And once two people can really connect, the third level of the framework is the we, it's the who are we together. And, we're part of the same webinar right now, but everyone's having a different experience of it. And that ability to empathetically understand what it's like for each other, to walk in each other's shoes, is fundamental to effective collaboration, powerful group identity, and sustaining success. Right? So this me, you, we, and it might be 15 seconds. And it might be 30 minutes where you really think about like what's going on here and how do I want to navigate this? And then coming back to the me, the energy, we can tell when someone cares. We can tell when they're looking for an answer. And so this authenticity thing is big because you may come out of a meeting and you're really annoyed. You're legitimately annoyed, or you're super tired because your kid was up last half the night and you didn't get any sleep. So your ability to kind of let go of that to the extent that you can and inhale who you need to be in that moment is really empowering. And that's being authentically who I need to be for this situation. And that is a skill because, it's tough, right? We got a lot going on. So if you can self-manage there, self-regulate, that is huge. And I call that leading myself first. If I can lead myself first, then I have a chance of leading others. So then you get yourself in other people's shoes. And I think that so often, you get with someone and you may have known them a long time, but you may not have. And you just jump into the task, and it's like, you're a worker bee. I just need you to do X. And I know that you realize that they're a human being, but if you could spend 15 seconds and let the person feel like they're really a human being, hey, how are you? Right? Just really taking a moment before you dive deep into like what you need them to do for you this second, that can make a big difference, right? And that the idea of vulnerability, vulnerability is a must for trust. Typically, when you use that word, people are like, ew, I would rather clean toilets. Like no one wants to be vulnerable. But as Brene Brown says, it really is something fundamental to relationships. And so opening up about mistakes, opening up about things that you don't know, is really inviting other people to be real with you. And I just want to encourage folks listening, you can really be a leader in this, in creating space so that other people feel that, wow, they're super genuine. She really wants my input. I'm going to really tell her how I see it, right? You've given them the kind of space to say, I want to hear what you really want to say. And when people are free to be who they are and say what needs to be said at work, the sky is the limit, right? Because you can really rally around the we. Who are we together and how can we come together in the best possible way? So that gives you a little bit of a sneak peek on the different parts of the model.
Yeah, I appreciate the preparation before conversations, right? Me, you, us, and or we, and throughout the conversation, right? To be able to ground ourselves, as you said, let go of some energy that's not serving us, really connect with what the other person might be thinking and feeling and wanting. And then of course the we, right? Who are we together? 1 + 1, 11. Yes. What do we have in common? What intentions do we share at a higher level? Maybe what values do we share at a higher level? My curiosity is about what specifically do we do? So if we take those 15 seconds or a minute, what questions do we ask ourselves? What technique, if there is one, do we do? Like, how do we get ourselves there? Especially if we don't actually know what the other person might be thinking or feeling, or what is that collective we?
Yeah, so this is so great because those questions are really guides. So I think the me part is just, hey, what's going on for me? And if I'm agitated or if I'm annoyed or whatever, which is fine, I have to decide, is that going to be helpful? Am I me going in annoyed? Is that really setting the tone? So I got to be a big girl and say, you know what? That's not going to. Go outside, take a walk around the block, but get grounded so that you can show up to best serve the group. If that's your real intention, if you really want to help the group. And that can be hard. I get it. Being intentional about the tone, thinking about, here I am delivering, maybe it's some really tough news. Maybe you have to let someone go. Okay, my most compassionate, caring self, how can I show up to really be that person? And then the notion of vulnerability, if let's say you have to own up to a mistake, if you made the mistake, you made the mistake. You got to get whole with that. So I think that part of it takes being grounded in ourselves. And I think a lot of folks, it's very easy to blame other people for the communication miss, for what's not happening, folks. And I'm just going to tell you, it really starts within. And it's a real opportunity to get serious with yourself and saying, I have this relationship and that person isn't doing this and that. And I'm like, okay, how are you part of that? Maybe it's just 2%, but I'm positive there's somehow we're all contributing to the little disconnects that are out there. And the moment you can own a part of it, starts to send an olive branch out to the other person to open up possibility for a relationship, right? So then the you piece is considering, and if you don't know where someone's at, hey, maybe we open up the dialogue. We've had this thing going on at work, and it just does not, the team does not seem to be gelling. What's going on for you? What do you think? If you're not sure, especially if you're a leader and you're not sure where your teammates are, when people say to me, well, I think my team is X, I'm like, you think? You think. This is your job. Hey, it's really important to me to understand where we're at. Share what's going on for you. And I want to hear it like it is. And when people tell you tough stuff, what you don't want to say is, who said that? Or why? You want to say, gosh, thank you for saying that. I know that may not have been easy to say. What was that? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 seconds. I mean, I'm telling you, these are very basic things that signal to someone that you want to hear it and you're open to it and you're going to like applaud people for being brave and putting it out there. And when people see that going on and you're applauding, they're like, oh, she's really serious. She really does not want to know what we want to hear. Now, I think for folks listening, well, I did that. I said, this is the thing, reinforcement. It's got to be all the time. People have to reinforce. I really want to hear it. Tell me the tough stuff. The bad news should travel fastest, and be mindful of how you respond when it's not great news. And again, I'm not saying we want to like have bad news, but that's kind of what happens. We're here to fix problems at work, right? If it's all super easy, they don't need super high performing teams, right? So I think that's a big part of it. So I think that you thing is also in relation to someone, there may be a power dynamic. You're the boss or you're the subordinate, but thinking about, do I want to be a partner to that person? Do I want to be a mentor, a supporter? Thinking about a relationship that's really nurturing versus a hierarchy can also be important. And I think oftentimes people who are in the bowels organization don't realize, you're out there in the field. You have eyes and ears that the folks who are stuck in the office at corporate, they don't have it. So realize how value add that can be and your ability to bring to folks. I'm noticing this. I'm seeing that. Have you seen it? I think I don't know what's going on in corporate, but I have this idea. And your generosity, you're actually modeling how you want other people to communicate with you. And sure, do I think leaders should absolutely all be amazingly skillful and be able to coach everybody up? I do. The fact of the matter is we're not all there, which is okay. So I want to help everybody. Farad, really realize that you can be part of the solution on this. All of us can model more effective ways of expressing ourselves and helping other people to do the same.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So I want to ask you about kind of this concept of underselling and overselling ourselves, because authentically speaking, speaking up, speaking skillfully,
Yeah.
is something that, there's a time and a place to do it in a way that we're not, that wallflower, and we're also not asserting ourselves, if you will, like overly so much so that we may alienate others, we may rub people the wrong way, or maybe not be grounded in our real skills, or might be overselling something that's not really there. What are your thoughts about that?
So this is the fine tuning piece. This is the knobs to understand where you're at. And that's where if you cultivated relationships to get folks input on how you land. And you have to realize it's not like a pure right or wrong because in different environments, people are going to respond differently to you. And that ability to cultivate a range of how you show up can be very effective. And when you read the room, you start to see who you need to be. Someone said something to me recently that I thought was great, which was, speak as if you're right, listen as if you're wrong. And so I think that idea of what's assertive, I think women in particular sometimes can, be a little like add kind of a question mark, sing song sort of tone. Listen to yourself on your iPhone and say, how do I sound? Do I sound confident? Do I sound as if I know what I'm talking about? And if you know what you're talking about, you want to sound like you know what you're talking about. And that takes practice, people. Not newsflash for anyone who's watched people on a stage. They didn't magically come out of a tube, perfectly doing that. Trust me, they practiced. It takes a lot of practice. So I think in all these environments that people can use as I call it a little bit of a laboratory. I'm not kidding when I say record yourself. When people take my Say It Skillfully program, there's a part of it like record yourself on your iPhone. And people are like, I'm like, yeah, because if you can't listen to yourself and genuinely rate yourself, I mean, you have to be open to that. And believe me, no one knows more than I do how painful it is. It really can be painful. I hate it, to be honest with you. So at times you just have to do it. And then you start to say, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. What would make it a little bit better? And we're not about being perfect. You and I talked about this before. The podcast, the ability to show up genuinely with the intention of helping people, the ability to show up genuinely wanting to help. That is like a big part of it. Having perfection in the words and how they were strung together in what sense is really secondary to what to how you want to serve. And I just I kind of had a reunion with some old friends over the weekend, and I got a really great compliment, and they said, you know what? I always knew you really wanted to help me and what was best for me. And I was able to say things that were kind of hard for them to hear, but because they knew I was really saying that, not in a way to like make them down and me up or anything like that, but just because I really felt that that was something that they needed to hear, that's how it landed. And when you can be in relationships like that, but they're not always fun, or people tell you like, I know you didn't mean it. But this is how that came across. And like, yeah, I own it. I'm sorry I lost it. We're not, we're far from perfect. So people should not feel pressure that you have to be perfect. You just say, hey, I got it. I'm really sorry. I'll be better tomorrow. That's it.
And so, what language, I guess, words um, are best used when we want to gain rapport with people? So, we've talked about the energetics, the me, you, we before a conversation and throughout. Looking at words themselves, what can we do to build that deeper connection with someone?
Well, I think open-ended, I mean, questions and showing interest. And when people, this quote unquote, these networking things, people hated, like, oh my God, I have to go to a networking event. And so, yeah, I always say to folks, look at it's a game and it's fun. And no, you're not going to land with everyone, and everyone's not going to land with you, and that's okay. Go in and say, hey, tell me about yourself. And when someone asks you that, don't be like, well, I was born in, Valley Forge and I'm a program manager. I'm like, come up with something fun, right? I cite my passion and purpose statement, say a fun known fact, I've run 10 marathons, whatever. Break the ice. and show a side of yourself. Be generous with who you are. I often go around, hey, everyone share a fun fact. And people are, oh, I knit or, something really crazy. And I think that that's an opportunity that people don't take as much advantage of. When you are in networking situations where, there's a high stakes thing, have a bit of a storyline. Hey, I'm so and so. I'm here at this meeting because I'm very interested in X. What do you know about Y? I mean, think about it. You can't go in and just wing it and expect it to go perfectly, right? I'm not saying it needs to be perfectly scripted, but there are times when you really do want to know your agenda, I guess is how I'd put it.
And what happens if you have a colleague, boss, direct report, family member that there's some discord with, meaning maybe they didn't quite receive what you said in the way that you intended to say it, or maybe they're, meaning they were offended, or maybe they really um, are judging some aspects of what you're doing or thinking. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so this is a great one. I encourage folks, if you think something's not quite right, so there's a intuition there, probably something going on, saying, hey, I noticed something doesn't feel quite right. It might just be making it up. We had this conversation yesterday, and I'm just wondering how it landed for you. Now, you don't have to say, I'm wondering what's wrong. You don't lead with, I think something is wrong. You say, hey, I'm wondering how it landed for you. And they might tell you, oh my God, I have allergies and I just can't even breathe. And I'm like, seriously, I'm just like miserable. Okay, great. It's not personal. And they might pause and you can, if you think, say, hey, I'm asking because I really care about you and I want us to have a really amazing work relationship. And so I want to contribute to that. And so anything I can do to be better, to be more helpful to you, I want to do. So you have to be really clear on what your intention is and if you're really willing for that. Now, you may say, I don't really like that person. I don't want to work well with them. I said, look, Molly's not here to tell you you have to do anything. Okay? It's all a free world. But you have an opportunity to say, we're born and we live and we die. We have these relationships at work. And if something's not in a dream state that you want it to be, put it out there, right? See what you can create. Because relationships, it really is the power of creativity. People coming together and really coming together and creating something. And I think that's to me, a very positive aspect about it. I mean, I just launched today a podcast. I was on an airplane and I don't talk on airplanes because you're afraid of what happens. If you start talking, they're going to start talking and you can't get out of it. But I've had a few instances, and this was the case with my just recent guest, and not the kind of guy I would normally, start yammering with. He's got the a backwards baseball hat, really buff guy. He's looked pretty serious. He's a big dude. And, I don't know what, I just kind of went over and I said something and then he said something back. And he was on his way to New York to go to a Yankees game. So when I found that out, I'm a big Yankees fan, nonstop for the entire flight. And then thereafter, and then like seriously, like BFF feeling. And, you never know what's within. You just cannot judge the book by the cover, right? We hate it when people do that to us. Yet I find myself often, okay, I'm like, wait a second. I'm kind of imposing upon that person. I mean, it's normal. So don't make yourself bad or wrong for it, but realize that it's happening and then be proactive about ensuring that you are creating the openness and being the open person that you would want others to be for yourself.
So I want to know now, how do we ask for something skillfully? So if I want to ask my boss for a promotion, my colleague to help me with a project when their plate is already full, my spouse to, I don't know, take out the trash or whatever it might be, what are some tips, tricks, strategies that work to influence people, kind of to move toward us?
Yeah. So here's the thing about the promotion thing, and I love this one because I'm a big fan of ask for what you need. So you have to know what you need to flourish. That's before you get to the promotion. Let's just say there's something you need at work. You need people to deliver something on time, what have you. If you are only thinking it and you're not actually telling people, good luck, right? They cannot read your mind. It is not their job to read your mind. And so your opportunity is to say, I want us to be amazing teammates. I want us to do amazing work. And when that happens, this is the great benefit to all of us. So this is the we, right? This is the power of when we come together. Great. I want to do my fair share. Here's my ask. Like, I will kill myself, go to the 11th hour for you, but I need this from you. Okay. Do we have a deal? And because I talked about this empathetic understanding, what it's like for each other, you don't necessarily know what it's like for your colleague and what's going on for them and why they're not giving you what you need, right? They don't know that you need it because they don't understand your world. So that ability to share some information to educate, not to complain that I need all this and my job is so hard, but to say, hey, for me to be amazing and rock star at this, here's how the dominoes have to fall. Here's how I think we're fitting in, but maybe there's a disconnect. So educate each other and then make a deal. Okay. I need this by 9 a.m. or whatever. Right. And if I don't get it, what I'm going to do is text, call, stalk, or whatever you want to set in motion so that I'm going to help you be successful and help me. So this is where sometimes you need to be light and funny, or you can come up with some real consequences. I'm going to fine you $10 every time you come to me and ask for something in the 11th hour. I'm not doing it anymore. So I want people to feel empowered to be able to ask for what you need so that you serve the whole. You're not asking for that so that you're better or you make someone, feel like, they have to do something for you. You're doing it because it best serves the organization. So on the promotion front, I think understanding what's required, what are the processes, I'm going to assume you've done that. Let's just say you're interested in the promotion track. I think that's really valid. I'm so grateful for the time, Vera, that we've had together. I've learned a lot from you. So you're being genuine about what you've already gotten from the job. I see other folks who've been moving along. I am really game to add more value to the company. I think that I'd really like to expand my horizons. I need your help to think about how can I, what are some roles? How can I amp it up? Whatever your ask is. Maybe it's a stretch assignment. Maybe it's a lateral kind of move. What maybe you could take some work off your boss's plate. So if you think about it, like, I want to move up, like if that's your game, okay, that's not exactly showing that you understand the context of being in a big organization. But if you step back and say, hey, I want to be guns blazing, able to contribute more, and here's some things I think I do well, here's some things I think I'm missing. Can you work with me? I need your help. What are some ideas that you would have? Form that kind of camaraderie. You demonstrate how you're making your boss's job easier. Your boss sees how eager you are. You want your boss to be supporting your growth, which I'm assuming the bosses are, right? But so I think if you get the sense, I think people are like kind of waiting. I'm like, what are you waiting for? You got to lean in. You got to show that you want it. And, same thing with interviewing. I was talking to folks, when you go to a company, I researched this, I was looking at that, and you've shown that, and you have questions specific to that company, you've set yourself apart from a bunch of folks already who are just showing up, and winging it. And yeah, I know for the people interviewing, I appreciate there's a lot going out there, and it's a tough market, but I really do encourage showing that level of interest, that you've done the homework, that you're there, and you're really jazzed. You personally have done some looking into whoever's recruiting you. Those make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It's rapport. It's like I get you, I know you, I care enough. It shows interest. And if they're showing up in that interested way into the interview, they can only imagine how much enthusiasm they'll bring to the job.
Yeah. So, the one thing along the lines you were talking, folks have come to me because they're like, but I don't think my boss is supportive of me. They don't feel that their boss is supportive of them, and they want to talk about that. And, I asked a person once they said, well, the boss doesn't think I'm very confident. And so we unpacked that a bit. And at the end of it, she's like, I can't expect my boss to feel that I'm confident if I don't show up confident. I'm like, exactly. Exactly. So there's a lot of power in the reflection, getting back to this mindfulness of stepping back and saying, hey, right, is the universe like really conspiring against me? Are people really closing doors? I mean, let's be honest. How can we turn that around and really open the doors? And if you can move through space in a way where people feel connected to you, where they feel that you're really out there to help them, they want to help you, good things happen. Good things happen.
It's a reminder of these basic, timeless, universal principles that oftentimes in our busy world we tend to forget. Energy matters, caring, genuinely caring about other people matters. What we care about ourselves. what we think of ourselves matters. It's projected out there, right? How can we expect others, as you said, to see us as confident, as giving, as, you know, caring, as competent in the skills if they can't see that, if they don't feel that? And yeah, and maybe just kind of as we kind of move towards completion here, what are the top, let's say, three mistakes that you see people when they're not saying things very skillfully?
Well, I think the number one thing is not stepping back and really just seeing the bigger picture. I mean, everyone's like out there. My boss, that person, if I had a dime for how they're not getting it, I'm like, oh, okay, they're not getting it. They don't want to hear it. I'm like, okay. So just considering what are some of the assumptions we might be making, how are we showing up in a way that does or does not serve? And again, not to crucify oneself, but you got to own it. So I think that honest self-reflection is a big part of it. And then I think the next thing is how is what I'm thinking about wanting to happen, how does it serve the organization? Because we're here bringing all these people together, whether it's 50 or whether it's 5,000 or 50,000, right? Hoping to come together and be much better than the individuals. And thinking about how do we best serve the organization, that's pretty defensible. When people come to me, I'm like, well, so what I'm hearing is you really want to help the group. And if you pitch it as, I see this, you may not be 100% right, but you're out there and people are, hey, they're trying to be better. So I think that energy and that intention about really wanting to be helpful as opposed to fundamentally about ourselves. I get it. We're all number one and we have to watch out for ourselves. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but there's a fine line there. And I think the third piece is people have to recognize that, humans are humans and you should just do what you think is right to the best of your ability. You cannot control. I can hope and hope and hope that someone's going to respond a certain way and they may not. And you know what? That's okay. You do what you can to the best of your ability and you'll sleep well at night. Harry Kramer, went up the ranks and was a CEO and chairman of Baxter Pharmaceutical, taught me that. And, be at peace with that. Do what you can. And I want to encourage folks to, find yourself in a community where you feel like it's a good fit. Again, it doesn't mean that people are good or bad, but there's things that are better or worse fit for ourselves. And take the time to be honest about, is this an environment that I can really thrive in? I can do my best and find something that is better suited to you, right? And I do want people to realize I think there's more agency that we can show for our situations. When I came up through work, I mean, work is such a privilege. I mean, people around the world would kill to have the jobs that we have, to be gainfully employed. And so I really encourage folks to take that privilege seriously, find work that matters, that you feel like has an impact for you, and that you can grow and you can help others to grow. It's just, it's a very exciting place to be. It takes work for folks listening, it doesn't just drop out of the sky. But for the folks that I've observed, when you kind of put it out there, and you're willing to do the work and lean into it, really good things happen.
And what inspired you to write the book, Say It Skillfully, and to contribute this to the world?
Oh, this is so great. So 6 years ago, and to my shout out to my mentor and honorary father, Marshall Goldsmith, so I was fortunate to be part of this 100 coaches community. And Marshall is so generous. Here he is, all of it, it's an amazing, amazing repertoire of learnings, just giving it all away for free. He was just wanting to help as many people as he could. And I had Bruce Kazanov is amazing. I wrote about this in the book, and we're talking about social media. I'm a very private person. Like I am not kind of wired to do social media. He's like, I had this video of a junior person modeling how you could speak up in a room full of management, which is like the scariest topic ever. So this 90-second video, he's like, just post it. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I'll post it. And so I posted it and I thought 10 people would listen and ultimately like 36,000 people watched this video. And then it was so overwhelming because I ended up week after week for a year creating a video on social media. But it was really clear to me that there was this huge pent up demand. People don't want to be a mute at work. They do not want to sit on the sidelines and be beige. They really do want to speak up, but they don't know how. And there's a lot about psychological safety. Absolutely, you need psychological safety. I would tell you that most environments, the bosses are like, yeah, we want to hear it. So you can have all the psychological safety you can buy, but if people don't have the skills to express themselves in a way where they, don't feel bad about being wrong, not fitting in or offending, they are still not going to say it. And I realized that this was a huge capability that needed to be built up. And I didn't speak English until I was 5. And I was painfully shy and pathetically unskillful. So it can be learned. And so it just got very personal for me because I could see people of all levels. I mean, I knew senior people. Oh, I can't say that. I'm like, you're the top 5 people in the firm. What do you mean you can't say that? So I just felt, I'm an idealist, but I'm like, that's so much lost opportunity. It's so much missed potential if people aren't able to really put it out there and really come together and be a force of nature together. And so that really moved me. I mean, it took over my life. Yeah, it took over my life. And so this went on, and then I started to write this book 3 or 4 years ago, and it just wasn't the right time. I created a program, Say It Skillfully 101, because I really wanted to help people find the skills. And because we're unique individuals, I see why it's not so easy to train. So I created a program that's very practical, hands-on, make it happen. And I've seen the impact on how people are just, when you see someone who all of a sudden realizes, I matter, I can be who I am, I can say what needs to be said, they're unstoppable. They're unstoppable. It's like the best thing ever. And so finally, the early 2004, I was with Marshall. I said, it's time for the book to encapsulate all things Say It Skillfully, why it's so important. And a big distinction about the book is that it really is a team sport. The leaders are up here, they want to hear it. They think everyone knows that they want to hear it. But the people down here are like, you don't want to hear it. So they're not really, coming together. And that's just a lose-lose. And so I think for me, everyone appreciating how at times we're part of the problem in communication. Sometimes we're not, part of the solution. And so then that option is to then turn into being part of the solution. And that might be on me to speak up. It might be being an advocate and helping other people speak up. It might be showing that we want to embrace difference and being wrong. So, it's just when you see an environment where people feel that they matter, they can make their words matter. We really can win together. And it's just to me, there's so much potential that overnight, I think if everyone in a group or company read this book, that they would be like, wait a second, it's just the idea like that's going on for the other person. I mean, the epiphanies that I've seen people have. So we're very excited to put it out in the world. And it was a great collaboration with Marshall because he's coached top 200 CEOs in the world. So you're able to kind of take this and show how he actually helped people who were very senior with the same exact thing. And then, Ken Blanchard is just he's an idol of mine. He's amazing. And so he wrote a really great forward. And then Alan Mulally, as I mentioned, one of the greatest CEOs ever, tied in his working together principles and framework. Because Say It Skillfully, really fundamentally, you have to have people being able to communicate effectively to do your best work.
Well, I'm so grateful that you are here with us today. How can we learn more about the book, about your programs? I too absolutely adore Marshall Goldsmith. He's one of my dear mentors, and I'm just thrilled and excited that you wrote this together, that this is a collaboration. And I'm excited to read it and to share it. So, where can we find it?
Yeah, I will look forward to your thoughts. So at sayitskillfully.com, we're working on the book landing page. So there will be a book landing page. I'm very excited because in a few weeks, we're going to have the pre-order. And so this is my shout out to everyone out there that you can be part of the solution. We're going to have a $4.11 promo, Say It Skillfully 411, for a few weeks. So I'd be so grateful if you would pre-order the book from the site. And if you would reach out to your networks and encourage people to do the same. And the reason is I need everybody's help so that Marshall and I can have an Amazon bestseller because that'll really help propel the book getting out there. And I really I feel so blessed and privileged to be able to put this out in the world. And I've seen how much of a difference it can make for people. And I just really genuinely want to empower people to be who they are and speak up in ways positive and productive, even when it might feel like it's a tough conversation.
Wow. Well, thank you again for sharing such incredible, helpful, practical tips with us today and for sharing this work with the world.
Well, it's really been my privilege and my pleasure, and I appreciate all that you do, Vera, to help people be grounded within themselves, because that's, to me, this notion of happier and more productive lives. It really starts with all of us, and I appreciate when it was hard and when I didn't feel that way, and I just want, lots of folks to come out on the other end, because it really is, um, it's very bright.
That's right. It is. It is. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you. Take good care.
You too.
Hey, game changers, it's Vered. I hope you loved this episode with Molly Chang on saying it skillfully. Really an inspiration and a reminder to speak up, to make your words matter, and of course, to win together as a team. If you want to learn even more communication tips, I invite you to check out episode 177 with Deborah Fine, where we talked about the art of small talk. I know. So, what do you do in networking conversations, dinner parties, that kind of thing, where you're not quite sure what to say? She gave some awesome tips as well. So, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast, being a part of our community. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so and share with anyone that you believe this is helpful to. Mwah. Bye for now.